DLC. Extra content that gamers have to pay for to get the full experience of a game. It's all over the industry. Every single game has DLC now. Even Nintendo, which normally normally didn't happen. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But is the concept of DLC really a horrible, atrocious thing that you should puke at every time you hear the words, or does it make sense when done right? I'm MaxMax24, and I'm going to talk about DLC in this Tuesday Talk. If you enjoyed, please, as always, do remember to drop a like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, all that jazz. With that, let's talk about DLC. So DLC, downloadable content, is extra content you have to pay for either in the form of a season pass or just individual purchases. And a lot of some companies are notorious for DLC, and others, they're just picking it up. And sometimes DLC makes sense. Okay, it adds more to the story and the game that you loved. And other times it's I don't even. Oh jeez. So what makes a good DLC? Well, a good DLC to me is one that significantly adds to the game. Significantly, like it can't be like 30 minutes of content. It needs to be significantly adding to the game, making it more enjoyable. It needs to, be moderately priced. Can't be super expensive, because no, and it should not be required for play. It should not. The DLC should not make my game time better because, it's there. I should be able to get the normal game without paying for it. I should be able to enjoy the game without paying for this DLC. And if I can't, then that's atrocious. And it should not split the player base. That's one problem that many games have, is with this DLC, they split the player base, and the game will feel empty if it's an online game, which, a lot of DLC is for online games. So, a lot of people also, they confuse the word DLC with microtransactions. They're different, alright? Microtransactions are things like that you can pay like for little boosters or skins or something. That's not DLC. DLC is either story content, new maps, or I think that's pretty much about it. Yeah. And it adds to the game, whereas microtransactions are little skins, little cosmetics things that you can get. Now, DLCs that I appreciate. Undead Nightmare. Red Dead seems to do their DLCs great. They used to until GTA Online. But, those are all free, so, can't complain. But they had the Ballad of Gay Tony for GTA 4. They had The Lost and the Damned also for GTA 4. They had a great campaign in Undead Nightmare. They completely changed the entire game and made this entirely new zombie-focused Red Dead Redemption cowboy game, and that's amazing. That was a great use of DLC, and it added so much to the game, but I did not have to buy those to enjoy the game. GTA 4, there was still the campaign. I could still go bowling with my cousin, and The Lost in the Damned and the Ballad of Gay Tony focused on completely different characters that I could go about, and if I didn't want to experience that story, I didn't have to. It did not add to the game. It just was more of the game. And Undead Nightmare was completely different from the normal campaign. It was a whole new campaign and a completely alternate history and reality, and that's great. I could still experience Red Dead Redemption to its fullest. I did not have to buy the DLC to experience the game, and that's great. That's amazing. Now, when it comes to games that do DLC really bad, a lot of the multiplayer shooters, Call of Duty especially, alright? When you release map packs that cost money, you split the player base. I know making map packs costs money, alright? It costs money. It hurts, it takes time, precious resources, and you're not going to do it if you're not going to make some money out of it. But a lot of people don't buy the map packs, so then you split the player base. You got people on the original maps without not playing with the people on the upper division, the new maps, and it just feels bad. And then you release the season pass because it bundles all the games at an acceptable price, and you put it. Oh jeez, the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 season pass is $50. The game is $60. That's not moderately priced at all right? That is atrociously priced. That's buying like an entirely new game, and all you're getting are map packs and stuff. And I don't know if this happened, but there was rumors that they were going to force people to buy season passes and not individual map packs, which would help not split the player base. But who's going to pay $50 for map packs? Right? Doesn't add any story. It doesn't add anything else. It just is new maps and guns and stuff. Like that. No, I could buy a new game for like $50, $60 and get much more hours of enjoyment out of it. And another company that really does DLC, it's kind of bad a lot of times with certain games, is EA. Everyone just loves EA, and they're just the favorite of all gamers, definitely. Yep, we all love them. But they like doing these DLC. I think this sort of stems from Maxis, the whole Sims DLC. Sims has a lot of DLC, and they're notorious for it. There is a lot, and I mean a lot. And a lot of the stuff can be put in together, and they could combine them into bigger DLCs, but they don't do that. But up till Sims 4, they were fine. Okay, we could cope with them. Some not as good as others, of course, but some actually added some great emphasis and great new additions to the game. But then The Sims 4 came out, and we got DLC for DLC. What? Yeah, I think it was the Pets expansion. Yeah, we got a Pets expansion, and then a Pets 2 expansion. What? You couldn't combine them into one? You had to give us a DLC on top of DLC? What? I'm sorry, but that's just, no. DLC is one thing, but having DLC for DLC, that just is the next level greedy, and should be stopped right now. Just stop it. Just stop it. Another company that really likes their DLC, Firaxis, the guys behind Civilization. All right, and Firaxis, you don't need to release little tiny packs for each civilization, okay? You don't need to have Macedon over here, Poland over here, Australia over here. You can combine them into one. It's not that hard. I mean, you get Rise and Fall. Like the Rise and Fall expansion, that was great. It had a bunch of new factions and completely changed a lot of the game mechanics, and that's a great form of DLC. Because I haven't bought it yet, but me not buying it does not affect the game, because I can still play it how it originally was created, and I can still enjoy it. People who buy Rise and Fall have a completely new experience and all these new factions, but there's so many other factions they can get. They can buy individual faction packs, which I don't understand. Like, why? You could combine them into more Middle Eastern pack over here and Europe pack, and have multiple factions, but you don't do that. No, because money's more important. And then another good example of DLC, usually up until Fallout 4, was Bethesda. Bethesda is known for having some great, compelling DLC that really adds to the story and makes it great, except for the Oblivion horse armor and but other than that, usually Bethesda's DLCs are hit or miss. Sometimes I enjoyed most of the DLCs of Fallout 4, but a lot of people didn't. One of my favorite parts was the building of the settlements. I know a lot of people hated that. So having DLC focused on that, was great for me. People who didn't buy that did not miss out on much, which was good. It did not affect the game that much. If you did not like settlement building, that DLC was not for you. But if you did, that DLC was for you. It was when it came to Nuka World and Far Harbor that sort of split player bases. But still, if you did not buy that DLC, it did not affect the game, did not change the way you play, it did not do anything, it's great. That's great. That's what should happen. Single player games should have DLC that does not change the game that much. It should just be continuations of the stories, and maybe new mechanics if you want to throw those in there. DLC is not something that you should puke at when you hear. All right, it's not microtransactions. A lot of people, like, I've got the list pulled up here right now, talking about the top 10 worst DLCs. Number 1 is in-game currency. In-game currency is not DLC. All right, that's completely different. In-game currency, buying in-game currency, that's microtransactions. DLC are not microtransactions. Microtransactions usually are invasive. A lot of times deal with cosmetics, but most recently they're more, perks in games and stuff, so they give you an edge. Even single-player games. Why do you want to buy currency in a single-player game? It's not like you got an edge in anybody. But that's beside the point. DLC are continuations of stories or new maps. They're just bigger than a microtransaction. So a lot of people get those confused, and they're not the same thing. DLC we've had for like ever, okay? We've had them forever. Like, there's always been, as long as the internet existed, there's been DLC that has been created pretty much, Xbox Live and PSN, as long as those have existed, pretty much there's been DLC for games. And a lot of times they're good. If they're intrusive, if they're required, if they split the fan base, if they don't really give me a lot in terms of content, like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC. All right, Nintendo, you're not doing DLC very well. No, I'm just gonna say that you're not doing it very well. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Season Pass, it really did not add much for people, and feels like a waste of money. Splatoon 2, you guys did good on that. DLC, the Octo expansion, you guys did good on that. You're improving. Good job. But Breath of the Wild, no. And Odyssey, where's my DLC? Where's my DLC? I'd like some DLC. Or an update. One or the other. I'm here. If you need me. I'm here. I'll buy it. But, yeah. So, DLC is fine if it follows certain criteria. If it doesn't, it's horrible. If it splits the fan base, it's horrible. If it's required and enjoy the game, it's horrible. On another note, it's horrible if they announce what the DLC is and what's going to be in it before the game even releases. Alright, I hate that. Spider-Man, it's a great game, but they announced the DLC, the names, and what's going to be in it before the game even launches. Call of Duty does that all the time. Assassin's Creed Odyssey did that. All the Assassin's Creed pretty much do that. Any Ubisoft game does that. Why? Then us players feel like you're taking things, you're stripping things from the game and charging us later. And that's just dumb, horrible marketing. I don't understand why you do that. But, you could tell us there's going to be a season pass, all right? You could tell us that we have DLC planned. But to announce the names and tell us what's going to be in them? No, don't do that. That's like revealing the entire plot to Infinity War before it even came out. Marvel didn't do that. It would be funny if they did, but they didn't. So that's what revealing your season pass and what everything that's going to be in it and all the titles and everything that's going to add do. It spoils it and makes us think that you withheld content. So, yeah, that was my tangent. I forgot to put that earlier. And that's my thoughts on DLC. They're fine when done right. When done right, they're fine. And they're different from microtransactions. Everyone's got to start understanding that. DLC and microtransactions are different. I mean, even the word should tip you off. They're completely different words. Downloadable content and microtransactions. Downloadable content sounds even much better. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed. If you did, as always, please remember to drop a like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, all that jazz. Click that bell icon to stay notified. And when I upload every Tuesdays through Fridays, with Monday happening eventually. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.